This is Peter Morosky, the Nurster, and here I'm today to discuss on why the fans of Danmachi need to stop making excuses for Freya and defending her for some reason, still ship her with Belle Cannell, because after all the horrible things she did in Season 5, which I'll get to, people still defend Freya, and it's absolutely ridiculous, to be honest. I know some people get furious at me because they love Freya, but this needs to stop, and I'll tell you why Freya doesn't actually love Belle. And I will admit, I found Freya very interesting in the first few seasons, but as time went by, I began to realize how wacko this chick actually is. First of all, people need to understand something that they never showed in Season 1, where Freya released the Silverback after Hestia. Which, by the way, sending the Silverback after Hestia is pretty messed up, and Freya herself admits that she doesn't care if Belle actually gets killed. She'll just follow her soul into heaven. And some people will think, oh, this is so romantic, and how she'll follow him, and how follow him anywhere, follow him to heaven. But you need to realize that Freya just wants Belle's soul because it's a pretty color that she's never seen before. And if Belle did get killed by the Silverback and Freya followed him, then that means, her faction loses their blessings, and Auraria loses thousands of adventurers, including 8 first-class adventurers. Which, if you know anything about Danmachi, first-class adventurers are a rare thing, and so are a pretty rare thing. So this will be really bad for Auraria. And if you know anything about the Freya family, is that they will never join another faction, and Freya knows this, and yet she was willing to do it just to go after Belle's soul. And from then on, Freya's been trying to win over Belle, someone who wants to become a powerful adventurer and a hero one day, with her seer form, a waitress who can't cook to save her life. Which, you know anything about seer, her cooking is very terrible, and even people say if adventurers didn't have their normal resistance, they would probably die from her cooking. That's how bad it is. And sure, Freya does do a few things that help Belle's growth, like his firebolt magic, where she gave him a book that lets him have magic. But you need to understand, Freya didn't do this out of kindness. She was doing it just so she could fit what she wanted. And Freya said that to herself, that was good for her soul, not Belle himself. And later on, when Belle is training with Eyes, she sends Alan from Mel and the Gulliver brothers to give Eyes a warning to stay away from Belle, even though Eyes training with Belle has got nothing to do with her. And in turn, the training is actually helping Belle get stronger. And Freya did this because she was just being petty and just being a petty, jealous schoolgirl, because she doesn't like the fact that Belle is spending all this time with Eyes and not her. In a skip scene in Season 2 as Seer, she actually blackmails Belle to give her a lap pillow, because when I would mention before with the training, Freya actually watched that from top of Babel Tower, and she got jealous of it, and that's how Freya knows about the lap pillows that Eyes gives him. And so she blackmails him to give him a lap pillow, and then later on in a skip short story, Sia brags to Eyes how Belle gave her a passionate lap pillow just to spite Eyes, because Belle loves Eyes and not Sia. And now these things to a lot of people throw to the side and say it's not that bad. But now we have to get to the main stuff and why people need to stop defending Freya and shipping her with Belle. In Season 5, Seer notices how differently Ryu acts in front of Belle, and Seer acts like a child and tells Belle he sucks, and acts like Belle's personal life is her property, and what happened between Ryu and Belle is her business, like it's not, because Belle and Ryu are their own people. They can do whatever the hell they want. The next day, Sia tells Rhea that she's going on a date with Belle, and acts so sure that Belle is going to fall in love with her, and then the Freya familiar forced Belle to go on the date with her, and put him through a lot of torturous training by Haydeen, if you watch the season. And during this date, they run into Eyes, and Sia just grabs onto Belle's arm and acts like her and Belle are a couple in front of Eyes, going, "Oh, come on, darling, let's go, and just drags him and takes him off, and causes a whole misunderstanding with Eyes. And in doing this, Sia completely ignored Belle's feelings for Eyes and just dragged him away. And then when Belle confronts her about it, and because Belle didn't like how rude Sia was to Eyes, and then Sia tries to make Belle feel guilty for sticking up for Eyes when he's on a date with her, and she actually asks, and she even asks Belle if he would rather be on a date with Eyes, and something that didn't show in the anime, in the novels, that Belle was thinking that he wanted to be on a date with Eyes, but he couldn't, because if he did, the Freya family would just kick his ass. And later on, when they're in the hotel room, and when they're about to go to bed, Sia tries to force herself onto him, and he rejects her, and once again tries to make him feel guilty for it. And then Freya acts like Belle hugging Ryu from behind is a crime, and she acts like it's her business. what Belle and Ryu do together. Like, yeah, come on, you got to see the red flags here. Like, this is not the kind of girl you would want to be with, is it? Of course, when she makes a big confession of love, thinking there's no way an adventurer as powerful as him would reject a waitress who can't cook for crap, Belle flat out tells Sia no. And after that, this is where it truly shows that Freya doesn't actually love Belle. She's just obsessed with him and does not care about his feelings. She just cares about what she wants. Because if you love someone, you'll put their happiness over your own and support them, even if it means they love someone else. What does Freya do? She has her familiar attack all of the Hestia familiar. Alan stabs Wealth through the gut, and the Gulliver brothers crush Haruhime and Aisha, who's been signed to protect Haruhime. And Hadid and Hogni stop Eyes, Tiona and Tiona from helping Belle. Not the Hermes familiar like in the anime. It was in the novel. It was actually those three that were going... Because unlike in the anime, in the novel, it was actually those three girls and not the members of the Hermes familiar like you see in the anime. And of course, as you see, Otar just crushes Belle's head into the ground, just carries him off before... After knocking Ryu across. And when Hestia calls Freya out on how pathetic she is, Freya straight says that she refuses to... Freya says she... Ooh, sorry about that. Freya straight says that if she refuses to give Belle to her, she will kill all of Hestia's children and will send Hestia to the heaven if she still refuses. And after some things with Hermes, Freya brainwashed all of Arario to make everyone think Belle has been in the Freya familiar all this time. And if you do any research on Arario, that's a lot of people. Like that's like millions and millions and millions of people, including the women and children. So almost everyone Belle knows rejects him because their memories are taken away from them by Freya, except for Hestia. But Freya tells Hestia that if she tries to tell Belle about any of this, she will kill all of her other children. And she did all of this to isolate Belle and force him to rely on her because she's going to be the only one who he can come to and talk to and be comfortable with. Freaking bitch. And because she's the one who gives him comfort and to make him believe that his love for Eyes is just his imagination, just so he can weaken Liara's freeze, which is the skill that gives Belle his strength and his immunity to Freya's charm. Whew. Which obviously is powered by his love for Eyes, of course. And she uses an illegal item to make it look like that Belle has Freya's blessing, which she does the update stats that you see. And then for the next 2 weeks, before the Freya's charm is undone, Freya has her children beat Belle to frickin' death all day, every frickin' day. Ugh. And during these 2 weeks, Aina Tool, Belle's advisor, starts to get her memories back after finding her personal journal on Belle. Then Freya comes in and takes it and charms Aina again, then reads Aina's private journal to trick Belle by adding her own twist on Belle's actual memories. Best example that we see in the anime is that Belle killed a single goblin his first time in the dungeon, and that's something only Aina and Hestia ever knew. And then combined with this with the brutal training mentioned before, the more this happened, Belle began to become a shell of himself, and the thing that Freya claimed it started to destroy the very thing that Freya claimed to love about Belle. And what will remain is nothing more than a broken person, which is really messed up. And during this, she offers Ryu a disgusting offer. Freya told her that she doesn't like anyone touching Belle like that. Yeah, you see again, she's just acting like Belle's her personal property. But she will let it slide with Ryu and offers to have a 3-way relationship and offers Ryu to have Belle's baby, which brings me to another interesting point about Freya, which I will get to later. And after Belle gets his confidence back thanks to Eyes, and because the love between them is so strong that Eyes can't... all those memories that Eyes has with Belle, like the lap pillows and all their promise at the end of Season 3, stuck with her, even after being charmed by Freya. And then, of course, after Hestia gets rid of Freya's charm, Freya has the nerve to challenge Hestia to a war game and have him as her prize, treating him like a trophy. And just before the war game, Freya uses her favour with Eyes to make her stay away from Belle. All because she hates how Belle would rather train and sweat with Eyes for a week than spend one passionate night with her. And a bit more content on this favour that the anime didn't show, which I don't know why, but they did in the novel, but JC Staff didn't. Eyes asked Freya if Ottar can train her between season 3 and season 4 after Belle and Eyes made that promise at the end of season 3. And Freya agreed on the condition that Eyes would do her one favour, and since Eyes is the woman that Belle loves, Freya used the favour now because since Eyes is the woman that Belle's in love with, Freya used the favour now because she didn't want Eyes to spend time with Belle, and Freya thought that by keeping them separate it would weaken Liara's freeze for some reason, even though a charm didn't do jack to it. And then during the war game, when Ottar is crushing Belle, like if you watch episode 11, you know how badly Belle gets crushed by him. It's really hard to watch. Freya has the nerve to tell Ottar not to break him, even though that's what Freya was literally trying to do for freaking 2 weeks. She was freaking breaking his soul, breaking him mentally, physically, and everything. And at the end of the war game, when Belle beats Alan in the race, Freya tries to charm him, and for some reason is shocked that Liara's freeze didn't weaken, and is somehow shocked that Belle is rejecting her again. And then she cries like a pathetic schoolgirl and makes another attempt at a confession, expecting him to love her after all the horrible things she's done. And to be honest, I don't know why Belle forgave her so easily, because in season 2 he got angry at Luan for insulting Hestia. Yet not one single bit of anger at Freya after the thing she did to Hestia. Whew. Yeah, sorry about that, I'm running out of breath here. And Freya's redemption, if you can call it that, makes no sense. She just says she's sorry and just says, "Oh, I just want to be Sia." Something she could have freaking easily done without causing this whole freaking ruckus after Belle rejected her. Sorry, but. And the other reason, and being honest, the only reason why I even tolerate her staying in Auraria is because I can't wait to see the look on her face when Belle and Eyes become a couple, and she has to watch them from the sidelines waiting tables. And that's her real punishment, not having her faction disbanded, not her money and house being taken, but Eyes being Belle's woman. And the point I mentioned earlier is that the thing who still ship Belle with Freya, even after all I just said, need to get through their heads, is that Freya is an immortal goddess who will live forever, and she is sterile. Like, that's a fact. The goddesses and gods in this show are sterile. They're not like Greek, they're not their life counterparts. They cannot have kids. So, meaning that she can't have children, and that's why she gave Ryu that offer to have Belle's baby. So anyone who still ships Freya with Belle, you want him to die an old man with no kids of his own, just because you feel bad for a gaslighting goddess bitch. And you also ship him with someone who slept with an old dwarf for 4 nights for the 4 Gulliver brothers. And if you watch Danmachi season 5 episode 4, they show a bit of a flashback of how one of the Gulliver brothers is going like, "Oh, I refuse to go down," or some crap about Freya, and you see that some guy in the background licking his lips. That Freya slept with that guy 4 nights in a row for the 4 of them. And before the events of season 1, Freya actually slept with a princess, pretending to be a prince, just because she liked her soul, which is so. In all due respect, anyone who actually still ships Freya with Belle after everything I've said, not to be rude, but that's really messed up, especially when you consider the fact that Freya is trillions and trillions of years old, and Belle is just a 14-year-old boy. Boy. Like, this makes Jacob in Twilight look freaking. This makes Jacob's love, if you call it, creepy love for Bella's daughter in Twilight look like a classic love story. That's how messed up this is. And in a short story in Danmachi Battle Chronicle, a game, they show they show why Freya's wearing the dress she wore in the war game. It kind of looks like a wedding dress. That's because it is, and because it is. She saw this man and woman get married, and they have a pure love. They've loved each other since they were kids, right? And then she claims that her love for Belle is the same pureness as that after all the horrible things she done. So this is some really snake shit, and you can really see how delusional Freya is. Like, anyone who still ships Belle with Freya and still defends Freya after all of this, I'm sorry, you're not. I'm not trying to sound nasty or anything, but you really are a bit messed up in the head if you think that. All right. This has been Puri Morosky, the Nerdster. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please like and subscribe, and thank you, and have a great day.